finally, we are back, and finally, I will be talking about one of my personal favorite action movies of all time. One of my favorite movies, which I'm doing a movie review series in a honor of Rutger Hauer, who passed away 2 years ago on July 19, 2019, and I'm talking about the movie, and that's Blind Fury. Came out 1989, 17 August, was released in West Germany, but was also in 1990 was released in the US. Master of the Sword, Avenger of the Truth, Blind as a Bat. So love that. One of Hauer's best flicks, which I agree with this. Blind Fury is a classic. It's a kick-ass, phenomenal swordsman action film of all time. This movie is a classic. It's my second favorite Rutger Hauer movie, and I love this movie to death. And like I said, I'm doing this in honor of Rutger Hauer. I'm doing this in honor of my favorite Dutch action stars, and that's Rutger Hauer, which I'm talking about his best film in my opinion. One of Hauer's best flicks, which I agree. And I love this movie to death. I saw this film as a kid. I think it was the first one I saw with Rutger Hauer as a kid. But I really love Blind Fury. I have the handmade Blu-ray. So yes, I have. Thank God I have this film on Blu-ray, because I love this movie to death. It's a fast-paced film. It's rated there. It's only 1 hour 26 minutes, which is not that long. And it's really a kick-ass action film. It's a classic, and I recommend this film to everyone to see, because you can't get wrong with this film. It's a classic. It's a really fast-paced action film. It's rated there. And Blind Fury is based on a modernized remake of Zatoichi Challenge, which is the 17th Japanese movie in the Zatoichi series. Nick Parker is based on the famous Japanese character Zatoichi, played by Rutger Hauer, and directed by Philip Noyce. Philip Noyce directed Patriot Games, Clear Present Danger, Dead Calm, Above Suspicion, and he also directed this film, Blind Fury, which I'll say is my favorite movie. He also directed The Saint with Val Kilmer, but this is really my favorite movie that he directed. I love Blind Fury to death. Definitely one of my favorite action films ever. Love Blind Fury. Blind Fury is a classic. It's a badass film. You can't get wrong with this film. But this scene is the best, Rutger Hauer stated that this was actually one of his most difficult characters that he ever played, because he was learning from a blind man how to walk, how to walk, how to act like a blind man, while he was training for 7 weeks with a sword, and he was shooting for 7 weeks the scenes while he woke up every morning, and 4:30 a.m. he went, and then he was training with the sword every day, for the past 7 weeks. And this was the most difficult character that Rutger Hauer ever played. But Rutger Hauer's best performance, a pitch perfect performance, because I agree, Rutger Hauer delivers a pitch perfect performance in this film. Favorite from director Philip Noyce, that's creamed with almost non-stop action. This movie is non-stop action. It's filled with non-stop action. It has action. It's filled with non-stop action. It has great, cool characters. Nick Parker is definitely one of the most coolest characters Rutger Hauer ever played. And I really miss, they don't make movies like this anymore. They don't make them. I miss this movie. They don't make them. I miss the 80s. Like Die Hard, Roadhouse, Rambo, First Blood Part 2, First Blood, they don't make them, and this movie came out on the end of late 80s, 1989. But man, Rutger Hauer delivered a pitch perfect best performance in my opinion. The action, the cast, the music score, it's perfect. It's awesome, this film. It also has a little humoristic scenes, but he's a badass. I mean, this movie, why no one talks about this film that much? Why no one talks about Blind Fury nowadays? Why no one wants to talk about Blind Fury that much? But I'm gonna talk about Blind Fury because I love this movie to death. And yeah, the story talks about Vietnam vet Nick Parker, who was blindsided in Vietnam during the helicopter crash. He was a soldier that was wounded in Vietnam, and he met this local people who they actually went. Who they all actually found him, they nursed him, and they teach him the martial arts and the little skills of a swordsman while learning his six senses: smell, listen, his nose and his mouth, since he could not see anymore. And I just love that, just like Steven Seagal, when he learned martial arts in Japan, Nick Parker, played by Rutger Hauer, he actually learned those little skills as a swordsman in Vietnam. Now, 20 years later, in Miami Beach, Nick Parker is traveling through the roads, and he's searching for his army buddy, Frank Devereaux, played by Terry O'Quinn from Lost. John Locke is in this movie. He's looking his friend, who the both of them were actually in Vietnam, and he goes to this bar. He also meets an alligator. He says, "Nice doggy." He goes to this bar, and there's like these guys who keep who are harassing a young woman. And one of the guys gave him like way too hot, spicy in his burrito. And I love when Rutger Hauer says, "Ooh, it's not bad, way too soft for me." And they stole the girl's purse. And Rutger Hauer goes and all kicks this guy's ass, which is awesome. He goes in the bar, kicks everyone's ass. In meantime, in Reno, Nevada, we met Frank Devereaux. He's actually a biochemic, and he owns money to some greedy mobster, McCready. Noble Willingham from the Texas, the Walker Texas Ranger is in this movie. I was going to say Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm actually from Walker Texas Ranger. And the Last Boy Scout, Sheldon Marcone, is in this movie as McCready, and that's awesome. He's a local mobster. And Devereaux owns him money, and now he forces him to work in the lab and produce those drugs, so that they will actually make him so that he would make him the blue powder, the drugs. McGrady sends his best mercenaries to kidnap and bring his son, so in order that Frank Devereaux will make him the drugs that he needs to sell, for the business. Meantime, Nick Parker goes and visits Frank Devereaux's old ex-wife, Lynn Devereaux, and he meets her son, Billy, played by Brendan Call. After Step by Step, that's Brendan Call. But after Step by Step, Brendan Call was in Baywatch, and Step by Step, he did not appear on TV anymore. But that's actually Frank's son, Billy, and yeah. So when two cops shows up, they were fake cops, and of course Slag, played by Randall Tex Cop, you know. I love this guy. Randall Tex Cop, you know, he visits. And he goes and visits, you know, and because it turns out they're actually imposter cops, they're not real cops. And Randall Tex Cop, you know, Slack uses his shotgun. He goes and uses his shotgun and kills Linda Rowe. That time we find out what Nick is capable. He grabs the sword, goes like cuts the cop's arm off, goes and kills the guy, you know. And that black cop he tries to kill him, you know. He's behind, and Rutger Hauer goes and stabs him, you know. And Randall Tex Cop says you can't stop a bullet, and he almost got him, but Randall Tex Cop jumps out of the window. And Lynn asks Nick Parker to protect her son, and she dies, you know. So because Billy's unconscious, Nick goes, grabs her, and now he has to protect the son. And they both now travel to Reno. And there are a few scenes in which Nick fall in the mud, you know, and Billy fall in the mud. I was laughing both of them. But we also find out that Nick could see, you know, he tells the story on the bus, how he met his dad, you know, how he met Billy's dad before they were under attack, and how he lost his sight, you know. I just love that. He plays a Vietnam vet, and I love the characters that Rutger Hauer plays. I like the good guys that he played. I love his character, Nick Parker. Definitely he's a swordsman, you know. Love the scene with the sword, you know. He's awesome, you know, with the sword. He's awesome, and that's Billy, you know. And that's in Vietnam, and that's the end of credits, and that's Slack. I love the character, and that's I think is what's the guy's name already? I can't find the guy's name. Tector Pike. That's Tector Pike, you know, with a head. That's Tector Pike. And also that's his brother, Nick Cassavetes, Lyle Pike. That's his brother. But Blind Fury, you can't go get wrong with it, you know. So they actually travel they actually now traveling and with a bus, and they came to this cornfield, and of course Billy wants to call his mom, but Nick has no choice but explain that his mom was killed, and Billy runs away, but he gets kidnapped by Slack and his men, you know, in the cornfield. Nick find out that they tracked him down, put a trap, and he goes with the swords and kills all the bad guys, you know, like this guy with the shotgun, and the other one with the Uzi, and Nick goes, shoot, the guy turns out, and shoots his own guy, and he eats, the guy eats popcorn, and Rutger goes and stabs him, you know, the guy eats popcorn in the cornfield. Who does that? But he goes, stabs him, and like this goon says, what's going on, you know, and he goes and kills almost everyone. And of course Slack kidnaps Billy, throws him in the shed. He climbs on the roof, and when he sees, you know, he gives fire on Rutger Hauer jumps with a sword, kicks the floor, you know, and Randall Tex Cop falls down, and he goes and stabs him, and he kills him, and he saves the kid, you know, he saves Billy, he saves the kid. And now they both go and travel to Frank Devereaux's office. And we also see the rain, great scene with the rain. But of course Slag wakes up, you know. It turns out that he was wearing a bulletproof vest that saved his life, you know. So he's still alive. So when the office, you know, they meet this girl Annie. I think she was one of Frank's employers. And it turns out that these two brothers, you know, it turns out that these two brothers, Nick Cassavetes and Rick Overton, Tector Lyle Pike, that Stector, they kidnapped Billy, and they kidnapped they also go and kidnap Nick Parker, and Nick has no choice but he asked Billy to help him out. If he doesn't, they're both gonna die, so Billy goes and gets himself free, and he goes and he gets his free, and he makes sure that he cuts that he goes and he turns the lighter so that Rutger Hauer can burn the knots, and they make a fire in the van. And in time, Lyle finds the sword, and he goes and he's like, and he shows his thumb, he shows that sword out, and Nick says, keep counting loud, and they make a fire. The van stops, and of course, when those two brothers go in the back, they get knocked down by Nick and by Billy. Billy throws that thing in Lyle's face, so now they actually go in the van, but Annie decides to help him, so she drives the van. They escape with the van, and those two brothers wake up and pissed, and they go and they are hitchhiking while Lyle's on the floor, and two grandmothers shows up, and both brothers grab the ladies out, shows them on the floor, and the other lady, they show you the car, the other lady grabs the gun, and she goes fires on her car when they were bombarded. I miss this kind of movies, man, in which grandmothers are firing with a gun. Oh my god. So you have a their climatic chase, I call it climatic, but you have a chase when two cars collide. That wasn't planned, wasn't scripted, but that was done for real. But they left it in the scene in it, so that was done for real. It was awesome. So they go back, so they go back with the van, and Billy comes back, so they go and find his sword. So now when Rutger Hauer's driving, this guy says, forgot how he called him, but says, "Are you a blonde? Yeah, what's your excuse?" Oh my god, Jesus. He was driving with a van, and you have a great chase, and those two brothers go and shoots, they go and shoots the mirrors, they shoots them, and they both flip over and they crash the car, those brothers, but Rutger Hauer stops in the wall, the van, which is awesome. I really love that, he goes and stops the van. It was awesome. So now he says that he goes back, in the casino, in which is Frank, and he's gonna send him back, and I love when Billy calls him Uncle Nick, and says, "So now you're my nephew," and says, "Protect the women, protect the fortress. I will be back." So he goes in the casino, but now he doesn't know how to get upstairs. So he goes plays those. How you call it? He goes and gamble it there, and because he keeps winning, he makes an attention, the security guard. But then they give another guy, which he loses. But he goes, uses a sword, destroys the table, and shows they cheated. He makes a riot. He goes and escapes the security guards. Those two brothers and the other two security guards, they go in the elevator, but he goes, but Rutger Hauer goes and destroys, stops them the elevator, and all of this guy says, shit, fuck. These two brothers says, shit, fuck. That was awesome. That was awesome line. Why can't they talk like this today nowadays anymore? Like those two brothers did. Shit, fuck. Shit, fuck. Why can't they talk nowadays like this? Why can't they curse like this anymore? Why can't they? Why can't they put a grandmother shooting at the cars? Why can't they put? Why can't they make any practical effects? They had to put in every fucking movie CGI. Way too much CGI. Why can't they do practical effects? Like was Cobra or this movie. Or this movie Die Hard, or those two Rambo films, all practical effects. Why can't they do practical effects nowadays? I miss movies, I miss Hollywood movies nowadays. Blind Fury from 3 Star is a badass, kick-ass film. Now, Nick Parker, he goes in the lobby. He was wearing that porter, and he goes across those two black security guys with guns. He goes to this guy, cop, played by Charles Cooper. He goes and cuts his eyebrow. He goes and cuts his eyebrows and says he don't need an aspirin for the head. What head? He goes and punches it down, knocks it down. He finally took the keys and finds Frank, and Frank says, well, he's producing those blue powder, for the drugs, he says they had to test it so that no one kills it, and he sees Frank, Frank tells him, come on, I'm gonna take you to your son, and finally he sees his body, and they go, so they try to escape. So actually they both, they both escape, and Frank goes and burns all those stuff, destroys that lab and all those blue powder, and he goes, they go now back, they escape. They actually go and escape, and I love when those brother security guys are looking for Nick, and Frank, he grabs his sword. He grabs his sword, this long sword. He goes, destroys the door, the door so they can open it. And he goes and they now escape. They go to the girl that they let her Colleen, but Frank and Nick finds her dead, and they get a call. And McCready says that he wants the stuff, that he wants the stuff, that he actually goes and brings it, Frank, because Annie and Billy are kidnapped in the ski lodge. So they both go in the gondola, to the ski lodge, And I love the ski lodge, and I also love the lines, get me someone, if you can handle, get me someone that can. Get me Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is dead. Then get me his brother. So they go to the ski lodge, and when they showed up with the gondola, and these guys are going fire the whole gondola. They go fire with guns, destroy all the gondola, but he's not there, he's actually not there. And I love the scene when I love the scene when the lobby keeps firing at him, and Frank escapes, of course, but he goes and stabs those bad guys, and he grabs that guy Lyle. He holds him right in the mouth, his sword, and asks him where's the kid, and he tells him, he turns him out, and he tells him, and Tucker Tector goes and shoots, and he shoots his own brother, who now is pissed, and goes, grabs the gun, shoots him back. They both were shot. I love that scene. The guys keep shooting in the lobby, so Nick escapes, in the music stage, and he's been now surrounded by all the guys, all the bad guys with the guns. He's been surrounded, but Frank goes, stirs the light, and he throws those firecrackers, those pipe bombs, and I love that scene when Nick goes, kills all the bad guys, uses little skills, uses all martial arts, little skills with the sword. He goes, kills all the bad guys. And I love that scene, man. I love such a cool scene. He goes, kills everyone. Kills all the bad guys, in the dark. And one of the guys says, I can see it, they are shooting each other. I love that scene. It's such a cool, badass scene. And Nick goes and kills all the bad guys. Nick and Frank are actually now go to in the penthouse, or just call it penthouse, and they found Billy and Annie, held by McGreedy, and McGreedy brings the assassin, Sho Kosugi, since he was never pronounced. He's he got the credits as the assassin because he was known more for ninja films like Revenge of the Ninja, Ninja 3 Dominations, Enter the Ninja. He was more known for Ninjas Pray for Death. I think it was Rachel of Honor. He was known more for those movies. And the Master Ninja, the TV series. So he goes, and he shows him, an apple. He go and he goes, grabs the sword, goes, cut the sword, the apple. And there's a great fight scene, and I just love fight scene. And Frank tells him, Nick, watch out your eyes. And Nick says, shut up, Frank, shut up. And he goes, the great sword fight scene. You have a great sword fight scene, fantastic sword fight scene. And Sho Kosugi goes and destroys the window, punches Nick flies there, and Nick grabs him for the face, Japan, and they go around the jacuzzi, they actually go around the jacuzzi, and of course Nick goes and cuts him, slashes him in the leg. The great sword fight scene in the jacuzzi, the assassin breaks something and makes the jacuzzi electrified, which is electricity, and he swings himself and launches an attack on Rutger, but Rutger goes and cuts, slashes the rope, and he falls in the electroshock water and gets electrocuted. The assassin gets electrocuted, when he falls in the pool. And I forgot, but Slag returns, and he shoots Rutger, he shoots him right here in the ribs and says, I told you, blind man, you can't fly, you can't, you're not better than the bullet, something like that. And I love when this time Rutger Hauer grabs his long sword and throws the sword right in the stomach, and gets stabbed, he pulls out the sword and tries to get the gun, and Frank struggles with McCready, and they both struggle with the shotgun, and so Billy grabs the sword, throws to Nick, but Nick misses and lands in the pool, so he grabs the samurai, the assassin sword, and he goes, and he uses the sword, and he goes and cuts to pieces, Randall Tech's cop, and he flies off the ski lodge out of the penthouse and falls down, and see great practical effect. I still know what happened in McCready, but by the final act, so now Billy goes to see the Rock, Alcatraz in San Francisco with his dad and Annie, and of course Rutger Hauer now leaves, and Billy goes after him but says, I hate you, and shows that elephant, but or this little piggy, the action figure, but Rutger Hauer catches us, and he goes, on the long trip, he protected the boy, and then the movie ends, with Rutger Hauer walking. I love this movie to death, and like I said, Rutger Hauer is Nick Parker, a Vietnam vet who returns home after years missing in action. Minus his side, but with the little new skills as an expert swordsman skills that will be put to the test when he tries to rescue an old army body who's deep in trouble, trouble with the mob, and and that's actually the base story. Directed by Philip Noyce. Philip Noyce did a fantastic direction. One of my favorite film noirs for my opinion. Good screenplay by Charles Robert Garner. He did a good job. Now, this movie was budget $10 million, but worldwide was only $2 million. It didn't well in the box office, which is too bad. There was after this movie was released, they were planning to do a sequel, but since a poor box office performance, in the box office, the sequel was never materialized. So that's too bad. It's a little shame. This movie could have get a sequel, but didn't happen. And yeah, it has a great cast. Rutger Hauer's phenomenal performance, best performance by Rutger Hauer. Also the cast. Randall Tex Cobb, he was in the movie Uncommon Valor with Patrick Swayze, Roadhouse, with Patrick Swayze in Uncommon Valor. He was also in MacGyver in season 3, I think was episode 17, I'm not really sure. But Randall Tex Cobb was fantastic. Also the actor doesn't play anymore. The most he's known as Sailor in Uncommon Valor, but I love his character more. I love that Slack is in this movie. Sho Kosugi is excellent, fantastic as the assassin. Great cool character by Slack, an assassin who kills Lynn Devereaux. A mercenary, shows what he can do with a shotgun. Love the cornfield is my favorite scene, but the best one is actually this fight, the sword fight scene. The sword fight scene was well choreographed, with Rutger Hauer and Assassin. Love that scene. And of course, Noble Willingham, rest in peace, is also in this movie. Sheldon Marcone from The Last Boy Scout is in this movie. So he's awesome as the bad guy. The second time now I remember him as the bad guy. The most I remember is in the last Boy Scout, when Noble Willingham played Sheldon Marcone. This movie he plays McCready, a mobster, a huge mobster and a drug dealer. Call him a drug dealer. Terry O'Quinn as John Locke from The Lost is in this movie. He plays Frank Devereaux, buddy of Nick Parker. So that's awesome. And of course, Meg Foster, she plays Lynn Devereaux. Meg Foster, she was in Best of the Best 2. She was also They Live. Before this movie was released, she was also in They Live. Meg Foster was in a countless movies. I think she also, even though they don't share a screenplay, Terry O'Quinn and Meg Foster, they both starred in the sequel, The Godfather Part 2. I only saw bits and pieces. I don't like those movies that much. Not a fan of those movies, but yeah, they didn't share the screen time, but they both started in The Godfather Part 2. It has a great cast, Nika Savetes from Delta Force Strings in this movie. Brandon Cole from Baywatch, Step by Step, is in this movie. Lisa Blunt from Prince of Darkness is in this movie. Which you have great characters, you have a great cast, great cast. It's rated R. The action sequences are fantastic. The van chases are fantastic. But the sword fight scenes are excellent by Rutger Hauer. He was fantastic. Rutger Hauer learned how to use the sword and walk and move like a blind man with the help of a real blind judoka, Lynn Manning. So that was cool. That was awesome. Siskel and Roger Ebert gave this movie 2 thumbs up, only 2 thumbs up. They could give more thumbs up, you know. Yeah, but yeah, but this movie, it's 6.4 on IMDb, deserves it. I actually love this scene in the cornfield, but my ultimate favorite scene, you know, hard rated R scene would be actually the sword fight between Sho Kosugi and Rutger Hauer. And like I said, a Vietnam vet, blind, you know, Nick Parker goes and he protects this young kid while he tries to find his dad and his old army buddy. And I just love that. A Master of the Sword, Avenger the Truth, blind as a bat. I love this movie to death. I really, really miss Rutger Hauer, you know. I saw this film as a kid and I miss Rutger Hauer so much. I miss him so much. It's so sad that he's no longer with us anymore. And I can't believe it that he passed away 2 years ago. He's like only 75 years old. I can't believe it, you know. It's really sad, you know. But I think that Philip Noyce also did the same, you know, did a good job directing the film. The music score was by unknown music composer. I'll try to find it. J. Peter Robinson. The music score was by J. Peter Robinson, and Catherine Dower did the costumes, you know. I think it was costume designs, Catherine Dower, but J. Peter Robinson, he did a music score, and not a bad music score in my opinion. Like the open scene when this little man, you know, is teaching Rutger Hauer how to use the sword. He brings him a snake, you know. I was like, wow, a snake, you know. But he goes and teaches her how to cut the apples, or how he uses the six senses, his ears, his smell, you know, and how to walk, move, and how to use the sword, you know, or hear everything, you know. I just love that. One of Hauer's best flicks by Clint Morte, movie hole. Definitely, I'd agree. One of Hauer's best flicks. Once again, I have to say that the cornfield is definitely the best scene. You know, this guy eats popcorn with a 2-barrel shotgun, and Rutger Hauer goes, you know, says shoot it. He goes back, and the guy turns around and shoots his own friend who has a Uzi, tries to run away, and Rutger goes and stabs him. The guy who eats popcorn with a hat. I love that scene. I love that scene. Really, really love that scene. It's just a badass film, you know. It's just a kick-ass badass film. It's right there. I mean, I miss this kind of movies, you know. I don't know what else to say, but I love this movie to death. Also, there's a few shots, you know, from the movie. You know, a few shots from the movie where he walks Billy. That's Annie, Billy. That's also Lynn and Nick, and that's also McCready, Noble Willingham, rest in peace, you know. And those are the gunmen who are shooting the elevator, but no one is in it, you know. In my opinion, better than Schwarzenegger's Raw Deal. This movie is better than Schwarzenegger's Raw Deal. But I always say really fantastic film. You can't get wrong with this film. It's a fantastic film, fantastic action film. My second favorite Rutger Hauer movie. I really enjoy Blind Fury. But it was released from TriStar. Anyway, that's my movie review on Blind Fury. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon in the new movie review, which stay tuned for my next Rutger Hauer film, which is gonna be my favorite of his. But anyway, take care. I'm out and see ya.